Welcome back. Let's continue the conversation on the impeachment of Mudashiru Obasa as the Speaker of Lagos State House of Assembly, and now being joined in the studio by political affairs analyst Nelson Ekujumi. Nelson, thank you very much for coming on the program. Let me start with the action of the lawmakers that they led by the then Speaker Mudashiru Obasa. One thing we saw was that all of them wore dark glasses. What message do you think they were actually sending? They wore dark glasses to that budget presentation. What message were they sending? Were they like spoiling for a fight or something? The Speaker, you could see him wearing dark glasses. Every member of the House wore the same, almost all of them wore the same glasses.
Well, in some culture, I don't know whether it's part of our culture in wearing dark glasses, but what that portends is that it portends doom. It portends people who are mourning. And you and I know that a budget presentation is about giving birth to a life. And what that calls for is one of celebration that we are going to celebrate the coming into being of it.
Could that also be a suggestion that, as the Speaker said in his speech, that they were going to scrutinize the budget thoroughly and that they would not be intimidated in doing their work and all of that? Because the Speaker that day in his speech actually sounded a bit belligerent.
Well, the Speaker, from his comments that day, he showed that the Speaker was not in sync with the tradition of budget presentation, because the role of the legislature when the budget is presented is to scrutinize the budget and ensure that the interest of the people, is actualized through the budget. So the Speaker coming up to say they are going to scrutinize the budget thoroughly, that they cannot be intimidated. You want to ask, how does presentation of a budget, which is a statutory responsibility of the executive to the legislature, how does it amount to intimidation? So it tells you clearly that the Speaker had
other issues
in mind other than that budget presentation, and it was a low point for the Speakership of Lagos State House of Assembly on that day. As a Lagosian, I was very, very disappointed and embarrassed, because it had never happened in the history of budget presentation in this state. The budget presentation, if you look at from time immemorial, it was more like a carnival. It was more about a fun fair. It was more about people coming to celebrate that the governor is presenting a budget that has to do with our lives, to make our lives better for the next 1 year, and not one that has to do with bearing our lives for the next 1 year.
Do you think that speech by the Speaker eventually nailed him?
I think it was it was about the last straw that broke the camel's back, because the Speaker had immersed himself in too many issues that were needless, and he had attracted a lot of enemies, both within and outside this primary constituency, which is the House of Assembly. Because if you listen to some of the legislators after the impeachment, they complained of his high-handedness, and the comment of the Speaker that day showed truly that the Speaker had other motives, and I think that was what hid even the party leadership, because his impeachment couldn't have sailed through without the consent of the party leadership and members. You can see that his impeachment is akin to what happened to former Governor Akim Ambode, who was denied a second-term ticket in 2019. You could see that all over the state, the party rejected him. And the same thing is the fate of...
But do you think this was an action taken by the members of the House, or a decision taken somewhere and the members were told to just go ahead and do it? Because before that day, the members never gave the impression that they had a problem with the Speaker.
But you and I know that impeachment is a part of the legislative instrument in any democracy. And the Lagos State House of Assembly is not the first to impeach its Speaker in this democracy. So the fact remains that the removal of a Speaker in the House of Assembly will not be solely based on factors within the House alone. Party members or party leadership must have also been part of the process to say, come on, this is what we are going to do as a party. And that is why till now, you can see that nobody in the party has come out to say, we are not part of this. That tells you clearly that they were all on the same page, that the time to go for Mudashiru Obasa has come. And so they did the needful.
You look at this, the former speaker's speech, Obasa's speech now, what he said about his governorship ambition, seizing the opportunity of the budget presentation now to speak on that. Do you think that was ill-advised?
Well, I don't know. I don't know whether it was ill-advised or one of arrogance, because that ceremony was solely. I think we need to go into history. It has never happened in the history of Lagos State House of Assembly when there's a presentation of the appropriation bill by the governor for a speaker to be discussing or to make his ambition or how he feels to be the topic of the day, other than the business why they are all gathered there. The major business of the day on that day was the budget presentation and not about the gubernatorial ambition of the speaker. But the fact remains that nobody has a right to deny the speaker a right to even aspire. But that was a wrong venue to have ventilated that anger. If the speaker had any gubernatorial ambition, there were other fora for him to have, expressed that. After all, I'm sure his party holds meetings regularly. And even with his position as a speaker, he could call a press conference and say, look, Lagosians, I'm interested in running in 2027. Nobody was going to stop him so long as he's qualified, except perhaps if the party within its primaries decide not to give him the ticket. But the intention to aspire, nobody can deny him that. So the speaker using that venue, using that occasion to propagate his gubernatorial ambition was totally misplaced.
Now that he's been impeached, what next do you think for his political ambition?
Well, for now, I think his political ambition is dead and buried. But depending on how he plays cards, it is not out of place that some years later he could reenact or he could resurrect
not
that career.
2027?
No, absolutely not 2027. And with the way he has conducted himself in the last two quarter or 1 year of his speakership of the House, I don't think members of the party will be comfortable in trusting him with any leadership position any longer, because throughout his speakership he behaved more like an emperor, and in democracy there's no room for emperorship. Democracy is about a servant leader, and like we say in politics, it is about Benwewa, not Benwe song, meaning bring your mouth here, join us, and not go away. So the speaker has been accused of so many things even before now, and his impeachment, I must confess to you, didn't come as a surprise. When it happened was what everybody was waiting for.
But some have said that impeachment was not proper, and that it was carried out in his absence. He wasn't given the opportunity to defend himself, and that he could choose to go to court. Do you see that happening, going to court?
Well, if he believes his right has been infringed upon, I will encourage him to go to court, because
you don't think there might be repercussions for that?
Well, if he's going to court, he should be prepared for the reactions. He's not a small boy. He's an adult. So every action generates a reaction. So if he decides to pursue his right further, whatever comes out of it, he should also be ready to bear it. So the ball is in his court if he feels he was not informed. Because when people come out to discuss the process of his impeachment, the question we should ask is that those discussing it don't have the local stand, because we don't know what transpired. Maybe there was a sitting in the House and these allegations were leveled against him, and because he has been accused of arrogance, he decided to snub the invitation that nothing could happen, and lo and behold, something happened. So if there's anybody who has a local standing in this matter, I think it is the Right Honorable Mudashiru Obasa rather than anybody else, and I'm told that he's a lawyer. So I'm sure even if he's not prosecuting, he has friends who are in the legal profession who can even advise him to go to court and seek redress for an infringement on his rights by his impeachment in his so-called absence. So it's within his right to pursue that angle.
But do you think, politically speaking now, there could be repercussions if he chose to toe that path?
Absolutely. In a democracy, once in a nascent democracy, let me put it that way, once a party has taken a line of action, as a loyal party member, is either you seek a soft landing within the party so that you can be back in the good books of the party members and party leadership. If you decide, to go full out war with the party, then whatever comes out of it, be ready to bear it. So I can't speak for him, but if he decides to go to court, it's within his right. But whatever happens, judicially out of it and party-wise, he must also be ready to bear it with his full chest.
Nelson Akujimi, thank you very much for your contributions. Thanks for coming on the show.
Thank you for having me.
Well, it's on that note we end the program this week. Thank you very much for watching. I'll see you again next time. Bye-bye.